His skin is white just like a ghost, thick Irish roots and his blonde hair. And he sounds like a Chicago superfan, a music nerd with a collection of CDs from here to there. Yes, Andy Dare is in Chicago, interviewing and barbecuing. It's the Andy Dare Show. It's the Andy Dare Show.
Welcome to the Andy Dare Show. This is episode 147. I'm your humble host, Andy. We are back with a brand new season, bunch of awesome things to talk about, and I am joined today by a cool dude, Mike Tomano. He is host of the Mike Tomano Show, which can be found every week at radiomisfits.com, and you can find it on iTunes. It's completely free. It's a great show, a stream of conscious. He interviews people. He gets into politics, music, movies. He's a complete movie freak, knows a ton about them, and he's just a super nice guy. So it was cool that we could meet, and yeah, it's an awesome story, actually. About a month ago, I found out that Mike Tomano was recording out of a studio that I have worked with previously out of Westmont, Illinois. Back when I was working out of there, we called it Venue Without a Venue. It has now been rechristened as Rage Studios, and it's pretty much a digital marketing agency type thing, and Mike is recording out of there. We got John Puggs, another radio guy. And yeah, I'll be doing a lot of stuff out of there, so check it out. It's rageagency.com. Pretty much a brand new thing. We were looking to get clients and bring a whole new face to your marketing level. So yeah, rageagency.com. They do all sorts of things from building websites to helping record audio, helping record video, helping stage all sorts of creative endeavors. Located right in the suburban area of Westmont, the west suburbs, close to every major highway, close to the train, real easy to get to, friendly staff. It's been spearheaded by Brian Polasek and David Jackson, and I want to thank them for letting me be a part of it.
Yo, what goes on, people? Jay Porks here. Just reminding you to keep it locked to the Deer Network throughout 2015, where you can get the Tyler Kale Show, the smooth, sultry tones of the Jay Porks Experience, or the Andy Deer Show. Keep it locked to andydeer.com. 2015, big things coming.
Thanks, Jay Porks. Yeah, so we're back with a brand new season. I know people are saying, what are you going to change? What are you going to completely screw up with this method that you've been doing it for 4.5 years? And pretty much, we're not going to change too much. We're going forward with the whole formula. And but basically, got a couple new irons in the fire. As I mentioned before, Rage Agency, located about 2 minutes from my house. We're going to be working out of there a lot. Just trying to network with creatives, and hopefully we can help out a lot of people bring their whole image that they have in their mind and bring it out to a reality. So that will be really cool. RageAgency.com. And then I am working with a real cool opportunity, the Chris Kirkwood podcast. If you ever heard of the Meat Puppets, they're an insanely awesome rock band out of the desert, out of Phoenix. They've been doing it since the early 80s. It's Chris Kirkwood, it's Kurt Kirkwood, Kurt's son Elmo Kirkwood, and Shandon Sam, and they really bring an original blend of punk meets bluegrass, meets country, meets metal, meets psychedelia, put it all in a Cuisinart, comes out as the Meat Puppets, and they're an intense live band. Do check them out. But obviously, they've been around for 30-plus years. They have some stories to tell. The bassist, Chris Kirkwood, just started his brand new podcast, and it can be found on SoundCloud, can be found on iTunes. It's really good. So far, he's interviewed Mike Watt. He's interviewed Keith Morris, from the founding member of Black Flag. He's got Bob Forrest, as you know, from Celebrity Rehab and stuff like that. It's an awesome show. Chris is a great host, got tons of awesome stories. So I just reached out to the producer, said, how could I help? And yeah, just spreading the word here on my podcast network, Chris Kirkwood Podcast. Follow them on Twitter at KirkwoodPod. I guarantee you, I wouldn't sell you any snake oil. This is the real deal, an awesome music-based podcast. Check it out, the Chris Kirkwood Podcast. All right, want to keep my stuff short. We got an awesome interview with Mike Tomano, but before we go, how about Tape Tuesday? Been doing that every Tuesday night. I take a picture from my massive cassette collection, and it's really blown up. I put a selfie on Instagram. It gets 1 or 2 likes. The girls kind of say, what's next? And I put a picture of a little cassette tape. Boom, 60 likes all around the world. People are checking it out. It's bringing traffic to my website. I got quite an intense collection. I got people sending me collections. Want to thank the anonymous person that sent me a big box of tapes. That couldn't have been cheap to ship, so I just really appreciate that people are checking out what I'm doing. And I, of course, will use their tapes. We will keep this going for as long as I can do it. And, so every Tuesday, check it out at andydare.com. We're going to have a tape. It's also on my Instagram feed at andydare. And really cool stuff. I got all sorts of different tapes. Different eras, different collections. I got funny ones. I got really rare ones. I got beat up cassettes. It's just an interesting thing in this digital age where we can take a picture of something tangible that we can pass on to our children. So check it out, Tape Tuesday at Andy Dare. Before I get out of here, I want to also thank EmptyLighthouse.com for featuring my articles and reviews. It's been over a year writing for them. Couldn't ask for a better foundation to write for. Check it out. I've also got all my articles up at andydare.com/writing, WRITING. So you can pretty much find all my work up over there. Want to thank Empty Lighthouse. Want to thank our awesome sponsors, Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue, The Man Great, Record Utopia, Rage Agency, the Chris Kirkwood Podcast, Jay Porks, and most importantly, you for checking out the show and keeping us going strong 4.5 years into doing this. And without further ado, episode 147, part of the Pantheon, with special guest Mike Tomano. Nice. And yeah, I was just Skyping about an hour ago with my buddy in Hollywood, and he sounded like shit. You sound awesome, huh?
Yeah, well, this mic is called Blue, and it's the Snowball. So it's omnidirectional. That's the only thing it picks up, like lawnmowers outside and stuff when I'm recording on my end. But it's a pretty decent mic.
That's awesome. You sound clear as the day. How much does that cost? I'm gonna make him buy one of these.
I don't think they're very expensive. I think this is maybe $100. I'm gonna check on Google right now for you.
Okay, wow.
It's Blue Snowball mic. Let's see what they run. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at like it doesn't really say here. Oh, $43. So.
Geez. Okay, I'm gonna definitely make him buy one of those. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're really nice. I like them a lot.
Okay, cool. Let me make sure we're recording. And 1 second here. Just do about 20 minutes if that's cool.
Yeah, whatever you need.
All right, I'll start it off. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Andy Dare Show. This is episode 147, and I'm joined by an awesome dude, Mike Tomano. How you doing?
Hey, Andy. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
And, as you said, we were kind of Twitter buddies for a little while. We checked out each other's show. His show is called The Mike Tomano Show, found at RadioMisfits.com. Got a weekly show going. But then, just so happened that he is working out of a studio nearby my house. And, we got to meet in the flesh a couple weeks ago. And, how you like doing The Mike Tomano Show? How long has it been over at the Radio Misfits for?
I've been doing it for a few months with Ed Silla in the group. I love it. I enjoy it because it's kind of the show that I always envisioned, even when I was doing terrestrial radio. Just free. It's whatever I'm in the mood for, and it's just kind of living my life on the air and giving my opinions and reviewing movies and talking about music. And I always enjoyed, conversation as a means of talk radio. Is a foundation for talk radio, and that kind of personality talk, even though the pendulum might be swinging back to that, it's pretty much a thing of the past at this point.
Yeah, there's no program director breathing down your neck, right?
Yeah, no. Ed is like the Ed who runs it. He's like, did you ever watch Charlie's Angels? I talk to him once in a while via email. We don't even really talk on the phone. We just kind of email each other every once in a while. But
Like a hologram pops up and it's Ed, and you talk to him for a second.
yeah. It comes from behind his screen. There's munchkins. It's all very Ozian.
Nice. But yeah, RadioMisfits.com, and there's a whole slew of other shows. You got Eddie Volkman on there too. What are the other shows that they can check out?
We have Ready, Set, Vent, which is hosted by a guy named Andy, who's really fun. And we have the Dishing Bitches, who are really provocative and funny, and a bunch of really edgy women in a room opining about everything from dating to their favorite restaurants to their sexcapades. It's pretty out there and pretty fun. And then and the news of the day they always kind of cover. We have Masshole and the Minions, which is kind of a relationship millennial thing. I don't. It's. I feel old when I listen to it, but it's very interesting and fun. And then who am I missing here? Let me make sure I don't miss anybody. We got a bunch of other news shows coming up too, so people can go to RadioMisfits.com, RadioMisfits.com, and yeah, Masshole and the Minions, my show, Dishing Bitches, Ready, Set, Vent, Eddie's Road Show. So it's a nice diverse group of talent. I like being part of it. We're going to be out at Taste of Chicago, which I haven't been to in years and years and years and years. So we'll be broadcasting live there July 10th.
Oh, that's awesome. You're doing a remote at the Taste?
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
That's cool. Yeah, the Dishing Bitches, I remember hearing about them. I heard their shows probably 2 or 3 years ago. Are they like the flagship show of the network? Or?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if but I wouldn't argue that. They seem to have a pretty strong history with the Radio Misfits, and just all of them. Samantha and her group are they're so conversational and funny, and it's kind of like just hanging at a bar with a bunch of really funny women. So yeah, I enjoy listening to their program every week.
Very awesome. And yeah, I actually was just kind of stalking your Facebook, saw some really awesome pictures. You've you got some awesome history with musicians and stuff like that. Ted Nugent. People always have radical opinions about Ted. However, the man just slays on guitar, and he's a character, and I think he's awesome. I mean, Stranglehold, all that stuff. It hasn't even dated in 30 years at all. How did you end up working with him? Is it an NRA thing, or what was the deal with your relationship?
Well, the thing with Ted is I've always been into the outdoors, and I always loved Ted when I was a kid, Double Live Gonzo and Free for All and all that stuff. And I always enjoyed his guitar playing and his persona. And I met him at an archery exposition. Boy, this was, God, it had to be 30 years ago. And we just kind of hit it off and started talking about stuff. And then later when I got into radio, he used to be a frequent guest. And he is, he's very opinionated about politics. But the thing is, in this social media world that we live in, there's so much more to people than their politics or their tastes or where they live or who. It's just so I think there's another side to Ted that I know, having become his friend over the years and worked with him on a number of projects. He's really a passionate guy, and he's very into helping wounded soldiers or your soldiers returning home, and he's very into getting kids on the straight and narrow. So for all the political stuff that people may, and I can see how it stirs up a lot of people's emotions, because politics is one of those things that does that. They don't maybe allow themselves to see all the good that he does for kids and stuff like that. So, but as far as being a guitar player, yeah, he's a monster guitar player.
Yeah, and talking about guitars, you teach guitar now, or?
I teach drums primarily.
Oh, okay.
Part-time I do that. I'm scaling back because I'm working on a number of other projects that I am involved in that are just very time-consuming. But yeah, I've been playing drums and guitar and bass since about 40 years. Boy, I'm really dating myself. But yeah, so when I was about 9, I started playing the drums and and then I subsequently taught myself how to play guitar. I do teach beginning students guitar and bass, and then when they kind of get their stuff together, I send them to the shredders, and say, here, go talk to these guys. They'll teach you how to play all the cool stuff that I don't even listen to. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Play guitar, drums, keyboards. We should definitely have a jam at the studio space sometime.
Oh, please, yes, anytime. I would love to make music with you.
And talking about guitar teachers, I started off about 20 years with this, 20 years ago with this guy, Jim Hirschman, out of Clarendon Hills. And yes, it pretty much you bring in a CD back then, and we would learn it. We would jam on the song, and then pretty much like a year into it, we got rid of trying to learn notes and scales and all that, and we were just jamming.
Yeah.
And then finally I just realized, or my mom just realized, we're paying him for a jam session.
Right.
And
Yeah.
at one point I could see why that is not a great thing, but on the other point, which I've talked to Jim about before, he made me love music, and that is priceless, and that is something that you can never take away. And I think if we were studying scales and theory all day, I would have probably quit way earlier and probably have never gone back to the thing.
That's a good point you bring up.
Yeah, so I think he did me a favor by just making music fun and being more about learning about the music, learning about playing with others instead of just scales and notes. And then it all hit the fan when I learned that the Beatles couldn't read music. So,
isn't that something? Yeah, but I bet they learned over time. Maybe not Ringo, but
they had to have learned some of it. But they were proud that it was never a thing of transcribing the notes on these studio recordings and stuff like that.
Well, here's the thing about music. When I teach music, or if I also teach improv and acting to kids and adults, but whatever I teach, I say, okay, well, here we got to learn the craft. And so there's a little bit of academics there. There's a little bit of reading music and learning how to count and learning, the scales and things of that nature. But if it's only academic, so you learn it as the craft, but you also have to learn the art and what's intrinsically you as a musician. And so the way I work on technique, because without technique, without a big vocabulary, without the ability to express yourself, you won't be able to play what's in your head. So that's part of it. So facility, we'll work on hands and feet and coordination. And then the second part is we do delve into the books a little bit and, read this and you see how this works and then the third part of any class that I teach is, okay, throw all the rules out and let's just hear something in your head and play it. Because I think it's important, and you bring up a great point. If it's really academic and kids are coming from a long day at school and then they just got someone talking to them about, scales, and it could wear them out,
Definitely. I think that's awesome. We will be right back with Mike Tomano after a word from our sponsors. This episode of The Andy Dare Show is brought to you in part by Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue in Westmont, Illinois. Family-owned and operated since 1997, Uncle Bub's is the real deal barbecue. A family-friendly restaurant open 7 days a week. Also, it's a full-service catering company doing weddings, pig roasts, luau's, grill packages, you name it. They have a friendly, helpful staff that will make sure that your party goes off without a hitch. Call them at 630-493-9000. Visit them at 132 South Cass Avenue in Westmont, Illinois, and UncleBubs.com. Hey man, I know you like grilling. I know you like getting those dark grill marks on your burgers, fish, chicken. And I know you don't want to just dry your meat out like you're cooking with a hairdryer. Why not get the Man Grate and click through the AndyDareShow.com's banner so we can keep the lights on here at Honeycomb Hideout Studios in gorgeous Westmont, Illinois. The Man Grate. This episode of The Andy Dare Show is brought to you in part by Record Utopia, a music lover's dream with thousands of vinyl records, musical instruments, and sound gear. They buy, sell, and trade. Give them a call at 630-963-1957. Visit them in Westmont, Illinois at 309 West Ogden Avenue, on the web at recordutopia.com. It's always a good, relaxed atmosphere. Check them out, Record Utopia. All right, we are back with Mike Tomano, and we were just talking about music theory and all that stuff, but you have a long history in radio, Chicago radio to be specific. How about a story from the radio salad days? When was your era? Is that, we're talking early 90s? Or?
Yeah, well, I started in the early 90s, and I was playing, radio hopscotch like most broadcasters do and trying to find my niche. My problem has always been that I'm a hopeless nonconformist, and so and that's good and bad when it comes to the entertainment world, because it has maybe kept me from some things, but in the long run, it's made me be true to my art. And I always looked at radio as an art, as an art form, and radio, of all the forums out there, all the mediums, it's really the least artistic from terms of management. Because let's say you're making a movie in Hollywood, and Steven Spielberg goes to a studio, they understand they're dealing with an artist, If you can go to a record company, and at some point they may interfere a bit with the process, but ultimately they know that this band are a group of artists, and we have to let them be creative. Radio has always poo-pooed that. They've always been an obstacle to wild, uninhibited creativity, because they're more concerned about making sure the weather gets in there 6 times an hour, and that you
Say the time.
Yeah. I mean, Andy, I can't tell you my disdain for music radio. It is the grand missed opportunity in the world of expression and creativity. Really classic rock. Think about rock and roll and the history that spawned from the 60s. Okay, let's say when it really became a cultural phenomenon and a reflection of the attitudes and lifestyle. Not just Teenage Rebellion. It became a movement, right? And so we have all these great bands in the history from the late 60s through today of all these incredibly talented and deep and just inspired artists, but we're still going to play Slow Ride by Foghat. We're still going to play. And even these bands that we know, people who listen to classic rock radio, they have these albums. We want to hear, you could dig a little deep. I don't have to hear something from Abacab. Go to Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Play a deep cut once in a while. It's like, for God's sake.
It's like, like they have the 100 songs they can play and nothing else.
Yeah, it's an insult to, and it is part of a much larger dumbing down of our society. I think, and not to make it so grandiose, but it is. It really is. I mean, when you look at music that gets the most attention, it's probably the worst of the lot. I mean, there's such great bands out there doing great stuff, and they don't get any recognition. The films that get made, the truly great films aren't coming out of Hollywood. They're coming out of independents and people who are doing it themselves. And so, yeah, I get real passionate about this sort of thing,
It was even something I saw growing up in the mid-'90s. I mean, alt-rock radio, they had the same thing. They just played, The Offspring, Nirvana, Guns N' Roses over and over and over when there was so much else out there. And then when the whole internet boom hit, they really didn't change with the times. They stayed the same thing. So when I was listening to stuff like Q101, I found the most rewarding experience was at night with Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew Loveline. That was two guys, taking calls and just opining about the world of sex and drugs and all that stuff, and while being really funny and pretty edgy at the time. And so it was something that it was truly improvisational and cutting edge. And so I've kind of given up on rock radio even 20 years ago, I think. And now with the whole internet advent, I think it's a matter of time until everybody turns off the radio and turns on their their podcast.
Yeah, podcasts and even, on satellite radio. And here's the thing. You'd think that when and maybe they're just so out of touch, when radio management talks to their friends and they say, I listen to Sirius XM, the Deep Cuts channel, I love what they do, or I listen to this podcast, this guy plays all this great music. You'd think they would see the passion of their target demo and say, well, maybe we can go a little bit deeper on the Blue Oyster Cult library than Don't Fear the Reaper. It's like, come on, man. Because I remember the artist or the DJ as artist, and Bobby Skafish, who was really the impetus for me to kind of get into radio. He, along with some other guys that listened to in the 80s, he would serve it up and and present. He was a music presenter. He was so into it, and he wasn't just reading, okay, here's so-and-so on this album, and here's the so-and-so's birthday. He was really, really passionate about the way that he blended the music, and that's gone, but it's still alive independently. And being an old punk rocker, I never jumped into the punk rock scene from the fashion standpoint because, safety pins in my ears really wasn't the way for me to go, or
it turned into
leather.
Its own club.
Yeah, right. It became very, very affected, and you had to have all these little trappings. But the punk rock attitude that you see with guys like, Mike Watt and guys from that generation, it wasn't about what shirt you were wearing. It was about being free from a corporate interference, saying, hey, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. This is my expression. If you like it, great. I got more for you to listen to. And I'm so inspired by those kind of guys,
Yeah, I could totally agree with you. How about like a favorite guest from the radio years?
Oh man, there's been so many. Well, Mike Watt, I called Mike Watt, and he's one of those guys that tells you, I got a couple minutes, I can do it, maybe 20 minutes, and you end up talking for an hour and 45 minutes with him.
I love that.
Yeah, and we're talking about everything from John Coltrane but I've had so many, so I'll just, off the top of my head, Mike Watt was a great interview. John Anderson of Yes was so cordial and sweet. Lots of actors, comedians. Comedians are okay, it depends on who they are. Sometimes they're just on, and they're just there to kind of do a portion of their act, and that's okay, But like guys like Emo Phillips was always fun. Who else? Crispin Glover was a great guest. I just had him on my podcast.
Emo Phillips graduated Downers Grove North too.
Yes, a Downers Grove native.
With a
Downers
Grove man too. Yeah.
Downers Grove's favorite son, Emo Phillips. But he's a strange cat. He's one of those guys you're not sure, is he with me or is he on another planet here? So he was always fun. Who else? From a music standpoint, Rob Zombie was interesting.
Oh, nice. It's funny to hear that he's kind of a straight edge guy.
Yeah.
If you were to see him in the mid '90s, you'd fear him. But no, he's actually just a kind, cordial guy who's actually just more about making movies and music and art and stuff. Nice guy. So.
Yeah, he looks like this big biker dude, but he's actually like a fanboy. He's into the Munsters and stuff like that.
And stuff,
yeah. And so he was great. Nugent, always a good interview. You wind him up and let him go, and he's rocking. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Man, there's been Colin Hay was great, from Men at Work.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Such a cordial, sweet man. He was incredible.
And before we go, how about a couple guys that made you want to become a radio DJ?
Okay, yeah, that's listening to radio. I think it was like 6th grade. Okay, I was. What are you? 6th grade? You're 10 years old, right? Around there. 10 or 11. I was in the 6th grade, and Steve Dahl was starting his Rude Awakening on WDAI, a defunct station in Chicago, and he was doing all these voices and stuff. And I was a class clown, so I really related to this guy. And subsequently, when he teamed up with Gary Meyer, I just thought it was so free form and so spontaneous and wonderful. So from a talk show comedic personality standpoint, Steve Dahl and Gary Meyer were my favorites. And I also grew up listening to Robert Murphy, who was on Q101 at the time. I thought he was very, very smooth, and he's a great guy and a mentor. And he was able to blend comedy and music, comedy talk, kind of personality talk with music. And I love the way that he blended that. And then, of course, Bobby Scafish, Johnny Mars, those kind of guys really inspired me when they were on XRT. One of my favorite segues from Bobby Scafish is he played John Lee Hooker into UFO into Hawaii Five-0 theme song. And he backsold it like it was, he did a backsell. It was like that all belonged together. And the beauty was it did at the time, So,
That's amazing. Hopefully there's a kid out there checking out the Mike Tomano Show, maybe wanting to try his own podcast. And, same with me. And so, the Mike Tomano Show, when do they post? Mondays?
Yeah, I post mine Mondays, every Monday, and then the other ones are subsequent through the week. You can always check out. There's blogs there. It's a fun site. It's adults only, pretty much. I mean, if you're a teenager, you could listen. I don't see anything that's going to be shocking, but it might not be safe for work all the time. Yeah, and let me just say, I am a really big fan of your passion and your dedication to bringing to light not only great music and the way you review music, but the interviews you do are just spot on. So I'm glad to be part of that pantheon.
I do appreciate it. And yeah, now that we got this studio nearby, let's make the best of it, right?
Well, we may start writing our album. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And yeah, Mike Tomano on Twitter, RadioMisfits.com. Is there any other plugs? Or?
Oh, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter, and I'll keep everybody abreast of the multitude of things I do to keep from having a real 9-to-5 job.
Nice. Sounds good. Same here. And yeah, just want to thank you for coming on. And on behalf of Mike Tomano, this is Andy signing off for the Andy Darer Show. Be sure to follow Andy on Twitter. That's at Andy Darer. And like our show on Facebook. That's facebook.com/The Andy Darer Show. Videos at youtube.com/Andrew Martin Darer. And we're on iTunes. Just search The Andy Darer Show. Please leave a review. Thanks so much to our wonderful sponsors, Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue, Record Utopia, The Band Great, and Amazon.com. Theme song courtesy of Rich Banks Music. Thank you so much for checking out The Andy Darer Show. TheAndyDareShow.com.